Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching The Marvels, directed by Nia DaCosta and starring Brie Larson, Iman Vellani, Tiana Paris, and Samuel L. Jackson. Now, The Marvels is a sequel to Captain Marvel, Secret Invasion, Miss Marvel, and WandaVision. And if the fact that you have to go through three different TV shows and one of the most despised Marvel movies of the bunch isn't enough, for this to be really just a big waste of time. How about the fact that this film feels like it's just a retread of things we've seen from 100 different Marvel films, with the added twist of being about the character from Marvel that people like the least. People literally knew this film was going to be terrible from the first trailer, so naturally it's terrible for not the reasons that you'd think. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story revolves around a bit after Captain Marvel, where Captain Marvel herself, played by Brie Larson, she basically ends up destroying the Supreme Intelligence, which basically causes the Kree Empire to fall completely. They have their oxygen is dying, they can barely breathe, the sun is dying. So, a Kree revolutionary, played by Zaw Ashton, decides to go against Captain Marvel and decides to use a Skrull peace talk as a way to basically have the Kree subjugate the Skrulls again, and so she can try and get resources from every place that Brie Larson's Captain Marvel calls home. So when the powers of Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, played by Tiana Paris, and Miss Marvel, played by Iman Vellani, end up getting intertwined, the three women have to work together to figure out how to use their powers intertwined in a way that would help them rather than hinder them, while they also have to defeat the Kree Revolutionary and save the universe. So, yeah, the movie's only 1 hour and 45 minutes long, which is probably the shortest film in Marvel history, but at the same time, it feels way longer than it should, even with that short runtime. Mainly because the tone is just all over the place of this film. Sometimes it's a comedy, sometimes it's an action film, sometimes it's a drama, sometimes it's a musical, and it never settles on one tone and sticks with it. It feels as frenetic as the writing, as none of the scenes have proper transitions, and it feels like the script was written 5 or 6 different times and no one really got past first draft ideas of what they thought would be cool ideas for the film. On top of that, the film was reshot several times and had to be delayed 5 separate times, and you can see why. I can't see a version of this film that had a workable script or a decent editing studio without it being a total mess. And it feels like so many vital important scenes that go through important exposition or go through events that get referenced but never shown in this film ended up on the cutting room floor. Almost like a reel is missing from the movie. Only movies aren't projected on reels anymore. And I can't imagine how much worse the stuff was that was left out rather than the stuff that was left in. I know it sounds like I'm really bashing this film, but at the same time, it feels like the film could have been at least kind of fun, given a few instances that do shake things up. Iman Vellani is genuinely fun as Miss Marvel. I think she's really charming and talented, and she certainly brings a lot of energy to the parts that Tiona Paris and Brie Larson fail to do. There's a few funny scenes here and there, mainly with Kamala's family, which feel like sitcom characters, or at least entertaining sitcom characters. And there's one scene that's a reference to cats with the song Memory. It's done with Flurkins eating people, but at the same time, it has some of the energy that was missing from most of the rest of the film. But that energy doesn't really work that well when its effects are somehow some of the worst this franchise has ever seen. And that's including some of the ones from Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. And even if you manage to have caught up with all the stuff that you had to watch previously to even get into this movie, it feels like not much of consequence really happens outside of just generic save the world material that we've seen from other Marvel movies and a tease at something at, in the mid credit scene that feels like it's something that the MCU will never deliver on. I have tried so hard to defend Marvel throughout these past few years, even with some of the worst moments of phases 4 and 5, but it feels like I just can't defend them anymore. It's a bad film. And it's a bad film that feels like it was made by committee, so I don't even blame Nia DaCosta for it. I just blame Marvel Studios as a whole, and it's clear that they either need to take a huge break, I mean for a few years, and before they try again, or they should just stop making movies entirely at this point. Because this was an embarrassment. That's why it gets a 3 out of 10. See you next time.